up Gragas for that first pick. Given that performance, and honestly, the 6-0 record, KaKAO has been so good at ganking with that champion, let alone disengaging in team fights. His explosive cask positioning is just that of a seasoned Gragas player, so I think you have to respect it and ban it away.
Yeah, Maokai the ban there as well, away from Flandre once again, and Snake, considering their last ban, it will be the Gragas, but instantly IG get Lulu.
And this is one champion that Zzitai, again, has looked very impressive on. It should be no surprise to any long-time viewers of the LPL or any sort of Chinese League of Legends that Zzitai, pretty damn good at playing mages, of course, was a mid lane player for IG till Rookie joined this organization right at the tail end of 2014. And so it can happily pick up the likes of Lulu. We've seen his Karthus and Fizz play be very impressive as well. But Lulu top is what we expect, but of course, one of the most flexible champions in the league. And against a team like Snake, who love to play Juggermore, build up the Draven, build up the Jinx. They play lots of protect the crystal comps. Taking away Lulu puts a dampener on even a lineup that looks impressive with the likes of Jinx, of Janna and Nunu in the first two picks.
Yeah, Snake at their honestly prime first two picks, you have to say, in the Janna and the Nunu. Gives basically nothing away. They're comfortable running these in a variety of different comps, but will lose the Lulu for potential super late game compositions like the Jugger, or maybe something around the Draven as well. But we'll pop back over to IG now as well. Picking up the Lulu, you have to think it's probably going over to Zzitai, but as you said, very flexible there. And Rek'Sai, a champion that we haven't seen too much of. It's been a lot of Nunu Gragas recently, but KaKAO in particular still loves the champion, and he will take it away here.
Now we're waiting to see if we saw the Kalista takeaway, but very late change away. Kalista takeaway would have basically guaranteed it wouldn't be a support Lulu just because the synergy between Lulu and Kalista, especially Fates correlated, although you can see the double knock-up isn't really necessarily there. They've gone for the Nautilus, so now they've basically 100% committed to the Lulu being a top or mid lane choice. The Rek'Sai is a bit of a return to form for KaKAO. Hasn't played a lot of Rek'Sai this season, but it's definitely a champion with a bit of a lower skill cap. We saw Bengi yesterday really playing that champion massively for SKT and not necessarily known for his Lee Sin mechanics. In this situation, you've got the unburrow into the double knock-up through the use of the Lulu ultimate. So already a lot of synergy, and it's a lot of early game pressure. You have that flexible option. Do you go Warrior and start fighting, or do you go Cinderhawk and start piling on those giant spells?
We'll see here as Snake. Azir insta-locked in there for BAKA. He'll take that once again. And Gnar actually there for Flandre, so one of his more successful champions as Flandre has been one of the best looking Gnars all season long. But Invictus Gaming have to round up their comp. They're looking for two carries, you have to think, given that they probably want a mid laner and a AD carry, of course, and they're hovering two very powerful picks so far. Will they take them away and go really hard into the scaling? They will. It's Kassadin Jinx as their final two picks.
And this makes a bit more sense why you see the Rek'Sai. You need a bit of mid-game pressure if you're going to opt into a champion like Kassadin, who seeds a lot of lane matchups, then gets strong in the late game. You go for the early presence jungler, who has multiple different gank routes and options with the likes of the Void Rush coming through. So Kassadin, very powerful in this patch. It's 5.7, so actually, despite the fact that we saw plenty of play in 5.6, might see even more given that his ultimate timing, i.e. the time when you're punished or rewarded, depending on whether you're stacking up the Riftwell for damage, but that timer goes from 20 seconds to 15, so you have more options to use it for just traveling rather than necessarily locking yourself out of teamfight damage.
And Snake will keep themselves in comfort as their final pick. They take the entire time to use it, but the Draven huffled by Ella will be the pick there for Crystal, and we mentioned it before, it's another two-threat comp with Crystal being the shining light here in it. Plenty of control with Janna, Nunu, and the Janna, and a lot of places for Crystal to go and maybe flank people with his Draven again.
So Pastry Time, it's time for a bit of a history lesson. These two teams, of course, have faced 4 times during the course of the LPL. 2 best of 2s. The first one in the first few weeks, our viewers might remember a certain highlight clip where 2 Mikaels and a Draven running wild as Crystal on Draven just ran wild, got onto the top of PTL, was very impressive on that champion. Suddenly back against IG, suddenly Draven's back, 7-2 on Draven, a very practiced Draven player. They're all about setting up Crystal to carry on this champion one more time.
Yeah, we can see Gnar versus Lulu in the top side, Rek'Sai versus Nunu in the jungle. Keep an eye out on the pressure that these two junglers might be able to dish out. Kassadin versus Azir. I'm starting to feel like this matchup's getting more commonplace, Papa Smithy.
And look, it was always a decent matchup for Kassadin back in the 5.2 days when we started the LPL. Kassadin was seen as a counter to counter to Azir. I don't feel like that's not necessarily the case, but it's a competitive lane matchup for Kassadin. That's always a really worrying thing moving into the late game, because you can peel pretty well with the Emperor's Divide, but good luck peeling away a Kassadin, even with the likes of Azir and Janna.
Yeah, late game comes around and you don't peel for this Kassadin. Maybe going to see the double McHale's again coming through here for Snake, but they do have to protect this Draven. And BAKA, again, he's a fire player, but much more of a role player. Loves to protect his carries, rather than be a big carry himself necessarily.
And a few more damage threats coming through. Gnar not necessarily known for big damage, but does have respectable bursts coming through with the Gnar ultimate. Azir, of course, disengaged, but also damage in the mid lane. A little bit less than someone like Cassiopeia, who's commonly used in these appealing comps, but still very respectable damage coming through from Azir. And the Draven, this is the all-in option. It's not the Kog'Maw who's a bit helpless, it's the Draven. And we've seen Flash E engages coming through from Crystal on Draven. He can do miraculous things on this champion.
And the biggest thing is, if he can't kill the Kassadin that will eventually start diving on him, because I don't think they have quite enough peel for him, he's in trouble. He has to live through all of that burst coming through. But if Snake can set up their good fights, or especially get ahead in the earlier mid-game, finally with the Nunu pick for what feels like an age in Snake games, they'll look just fine here in the series.
They need to punish the Jinx Nautilus, you have to think, in lane. Draven Janna, not necessarily the strongest Draven lane, but it's a Draven lane. You say without fail. You don't really need a lot of analysis to say that Draven has the ability to run away with almost any lane matchup. Maybe Urgot's a bit tough, but even then the early levels, level 2 especially, you can bully around the Urgot. IG, to their credit, they've picked winning lanes to supplement the Kassadin. They've got the Lulu, who against Gnar is going to be competitive, but definitely has more pushing options, has the AoE clear from level 1 rather than Gnar, who actually needs to be in Mega Gnar form to actually push aggressively outside of his auto attacks. They've got a strong ganking jungler. KaKAO can show a lot of presence if he so chooses in the early level. Level 2 for that uncleansable CC coming through, compared to Nunu, who's more of a counter ganker and again, a controller of neutrals, whether it's turrets with the Blood Boil or dragons with the Consume. Kassadin definitely going to be harassed in this lane, but it's going to go for a regen heavy start and do decent, so have decent presence. There's always the potential that Crystal makes an error on Draven and Draven falls behind, and this lane might get hairy from against the likes of Nautilus. But you have to give them it's Crystal on Draven. You have to think it's going to go big after what was a fairly muted performance in Game 1.
It was, but I have to say, the mid lane is interesting for me because Rookie going aggressively with his summoner spell choice. Got Ignite there against BAKA's heal, so a small win there for the Kassadin.
Maybe Rookie's just looking to do his best Pawn impression. Of course, Pawn playing for EDG in his big comeback. Went for the Sheen as an early option. Didn't necessarily build into a Lich Bane. Was still going to build towards a Rod of Ages, but went for an earlier Power Spike. Had the Ignite, had the Sheen proc. The enemy champion just didn't calculate the damage and died to an all-in. So there's always the potential. He's just looking to outfox BAKA in this situation and just go for surprising bursts. And if that Ignite is the difference between a kill and missing out on a kill, it could turn the whole side of this game if they're able to get Rookie winning lane against Azir.
And Rookie is just a player that loves to 1v1 people, honestly, in the mid lane. A big finesse player, great at laning, especially from the mid side. Of course, a great team fighter in his own right as well. But if he's going to pick on anyone, it would be a more passive mid laner like BAKA.
BAKA, very practiced on his Sherma champions. An excellent Azir player, even if he didn't get to show it necessarily in Game 1. Should have a decent laning matchup. Again, maybe Beast is the big question mark. Couldn't get it together in Game 1. Needs to step up against KaKAO's Rek'Sai.
Well, we'll see what Beast can do this time around. We're about to get onto the roof for Game 2. And welcome onto the Rift here as Kid and Kitty is going to take the Krugs down to the bottom side, but we do have a slight pause here to start our game. And again, just looking down, kind of popping through the minimap just briefly while we can see champions moving around there. And it seems like, again, we'll have standard lanes.
Yeah, it does seem like they're tending towards standard lanes in the first few seconds of the game. Working out some technology kinks, of course, the grand final tomorrow. Hopefully we're not held back by any sort of technological difficulties tomorrow. Standard lanes, you have to think bodes well for the Draven. You always expect it. Janna, honestly, waiting for Draven to hit level 2, throw on that Eye of the Storm and let him go wild with the axes.
And Crystal does love to go wild with those axes. We've seen his very aggressive Draven play before. And it's so weird to me to see Crystal play like that, but it's often been, and this was the big product of a lot of Snake's early wins. When they've gotten ahead, it's been Beast. It's been the most impressive-looking member of this team for me. And his Nunu's been legendary throughout the LPL, probably eclipsing Clearlove, honestly. He's had one hell of a season waiting in the finals tomorrow, of course, against LGD. Beast is a great player, and he looks to dictate to a lot of different teams, but KaKAO definitely had his number in Game 1, so we'll see if he has a change here, now that we're back in standard lanes especially.
Honestly, these two Korean imports are really the big unexpected revelations of the 2015 LPL split. Both Beast and Ella have been so surprising despite coming from unfancied backgrounds, do Big File Miracle and smaller teams rather than necessarily the superstar names like the Katie Rolls to Arrows, current OGN champions coming into this season were KaKAO and Rookie, so a lot more name value, but Beast and Ella have been very effective for Snake in getting them to second place.
Yeah, it's interesting to think that with all of the Koreans that were imported into China, the big names that are waiting tomorrow as well, Infos Deft, of course, the Samsung AD carry battle will be there in our finals. Kitties does go down towards the bottom. Crystal trying to get aggressive, but couldn't quite get the advantage despite both of them taking away an early camp.
I mean, that's the thing. They're probably top 10 players of the Korean imports this season. There was, quite a few of them. But the fact that they're up there with names, maybe ahead of people like Lupa who've struggled in this season, it's big credit to Snake and their scouting department for picking up these unfancied players that have really gelled so well to set up Snake's carries.
Yeah, and they've looked good as a team. They've kept their roster consistent. We do have another pause here as well. And that was the thing I wanted to mention coming into this series, actually, is that Snake's roster, came together late last year, I believe, just before the LPL season started, but after they'd already qualified. A new roster and have now played together for an entire split. IG have changed up so much in just one split, finally settling on this roster here, and who knows what potential changes will happen moving into the next split for this team. It took a while for IG to get settled in Snake. They've looked great from day one as a cohesive team, which is crazy to think given the mixed languages in there as well.
I think if it was a different format in the LPL, that would be a very valid point, but you think about when Zzitai stepped onto this team, about week 6 or 7 of the LPL, just before the Demacia Cup break. It was only actually in the Demacia Cup where he really decided to look to fit in and actually have champions that differed from Pokemon, their previous top laner. But the crazy thing is that since that point, he's probably already played over 20, 25 competitive games with this lineup as a top laner. They've obviously got better and better as they're going on. You just compare that to someone like Dada, who'd never played more than a 13, 14 game season, I believe, through the OGN. It tells you there's just so many options to gel. So even though it wasn't together in week 1 or week 2 when this team got together, they're fairly practiced. You now know what to expect out of Zzitai as a top laner, and that wasn't the case a month ago.
Certainly true here, but both teams have looked good, honestly, in their synergy for the most part here. When they play together, it seems like they win together as well. And Snake, that's a big question. If we do pop back into the game, can they arrest an early game this time around? And BAKA, at least, getting competitive here with his Azir, trying to zone out the Kassadin early on.
I mean, honestly, the first big win condition for Snake is actually get a winning lane matchup going, whether that's a big gank coming through from Nunu or an individual outplay from Crystal. You feel like this bottom lane has a lot of pressure on it, so it might be no surprise that KaKAO's already made a visit.
Yep, hook lands on the KaKAO, now going to come through. Exhausted down as well, like Crystal will get knocked away. Does flash late in a very awkward pause there, but Crystal, I have bad news. He is already dead. Oh, no, heals are actually, might be safe, but does go down for first blood, it looks like. Again, that was quite a spot to pause in.
There's awkward pauses, and there's literally one auto and maybe a heal to save you away from dying. Didn't know if he was going to be able to use his summoners, but he's dead, and we're back in the game.
Did get first blooded. KaKAO actually going to get credit for that kill here. And again, rotating down. Nice early gank there. We mentioned get a winning lane here for Snake. IG going to try and make that Draven. Does feel a little bit less safe there in his lane.
I mean, it's just excellent jungle pathing again from KaKAO. The savvy decision to pick up Dragon in game 1 set up their victory. Understanding that Draven's always going to look to selfishly overextend in this lane. It's just an expectation. You thought Crystal would go off early. He did and was punished for it.
Yeah, and that's the thing. He loves to be aggressive. He's the flash forward kind of AD carry, that's for sure. And punished there certainly early on here. Returns to lane with a longsword, so nothing much at all. And the Jinx, who we said, does have to navigate a lot of her early lanes towards that first BS sword before she can start getting some work done, is going to start with a nice little lead.
I think our viewers really need to go back to the VODs and watch some of those Draven games. We talk about an aggressive Draven. Everyone's played them in solo queue. Always the axes in your face. Always a pain to deal with. Literally, Crystal won a Draven game, flashing over a ridge and stand deciding 5 members, initiating with his face effectively. That is the level of aggression that Crystal will show, and that's why KaKAO's savvy to be bottom and punish that rotation. But speaking of rotations, Beast going full Nunu to pick up this first dragon.
We've seen quite a few level 4 dragons from the likes of both Beast and KaKAO actually on fairly similar champions, but they're going to rotate in to make sure it goes down safely. And nice use of the bottom lane back timing this time for Snake. They'll get themselves the first dragon.
And it's very similar information that was offered to KaKAO last game that got them their first dragon Snowball. Snowball begins with Snake. Snowball begins with Nunu. Somehow apt.
Always.
And the objective start, KaKAO not going to find any impact there, so he's going to try and visit top lane to just get more impact in the lanes. Because in bottom lane, Draven being behind, if Draven ever has to consider whether to all in or not, that's already a problem for the Draven.
And KaKAO already knows that Flandre knows where he's at because you can see him moving with the Tremor Sense. So a good ward did spot KaKAO away, but they might even just stop proxying between the waves and try and fast push down a turret. As you can see, that next creep wave coming in stopped completely between those two turrets.
AoE clear coming through from the Rek'Sai Q and the Lulu Q is basically instant coming through from that Glitter Lance combo. So just trying to proxy, keep Gnar away from the minion line, keep the time when Lulu really has the ascendancy and trade advantages. And basically they have the opportunity to keep them pushed up and get vision in the bot lane as long as possible.
Crystal's 1v2 right now, by the way, just running around with Draven, spinning some axes, has caught up in CS now that Kid went for that early back, but does have a pickaxe advantage up to just the Dorans and the longsword here for Crystal. Kid does still have to be a little safe, you think, here, because Crystal can do good damage if allowed to free hit here, but Kitties lands a hook on a Draven, and he will not survive that all in.
And look, there is some predictability to Draven's movements. Of course, picks up axes. You see that counter on the ground, so you can look for the hook. It's just difficult because Janna has disengage, and even though there's an item AD advantage, the Eye of the Storm is going to equalize any AD coming through from the pickaxe compared to the longsword. So the trades are going to be fine, and Nautilus not really relevant in trades unless they're all-in trades.
See, Kid is getting chunked now. Kid as well going to eat some axes, and
here we go.
Geez, that damage. Crystal going in, but just fearless there. Walked in front of a Nautilus who had a hook ready and dared him to do it.
Look, Nautilus has CC, but again, it's all in trades. If he uses that hook, he doesn't have it to get away, and he will have to deal with the Draven damage, which with the Eye of the Storm is insane already. So they're just lucky that there's no BF sort of pickaxe to back it up. They're lucky that they have competitive AD, because only the poke trades are decent for the Jinx if she gets a couple of autos. Maybe the Berserker Greaves a decent pickup to get away from the standard side and get maybe the extra rocket, because the all-in trades, it's Draven. They're always in his advantage.
Yeah, important to note that Exhaust just came back up for Kitties, and Ella did have his Ignite to Kid's heal, so perhaps a Summoner spell consideration there as well, but going to be a little less afraid now with the Exhaust back up, and KaKAO, good timing, going to make his way back in here.
No flash for Crystal.
No. Very tricky for him to get out, and KaKAO's wrapped all the way around Crystal. Going to have to try and run away. Good stand aside, but the Dreadline follows in. Kid comes in for the damage and gets himself a kill.
Punished 2 out of 2 times was Crystal there. They're just playing around his aggression and bot. It's predictable to some degree. Maybe he's going to have to mix it up, but then why pick Draven? That's the big issue, is that if he just is relegated to the farm game, he's not justifying the pick, and KaKAO's over him like butter.
Yeah, you can see 1,000 gold up already, actually, there for IG, just given the pressure they've put down in towards the bottom lanes with those 2 kills, and Crystal already adapting, interestingly enough. We normally see Bloodthirster into Last Whisper, but he's already picked up a Bilge Water Cutlass.
Maybe that's just for some early game laning presence, because, I mean, doesn't really necessarily have a lot of synergy. Doesn't fit into his build. We've seen his Draven enough times to know it's Bloodthirster into Last Whisper into a Trinity Force, and then maybe an Infinity Edge considered after that. Has always been about catching axes rather than buying any sort of steroid items like the Phantom Dancer or the Static Shiv. Lulu's overextended, but difficult to kill.
Key skill shot missed there by Flandre. Might flash in for the ulti though. The Dire has to be careful. Has to walk through. Great scoop back there for Zzitai. Massive damage from the Absolute Zero, and wonderfully played. Gives Nunu a kill.
And Flandre was super smart to know that the chances of actually getting the wall stun were minimal, but just opening up distance into the channel was very savvy play from Flandre. So they get the answering kill and top. One of my other worries though, Pastry Time, is that Rookie is doing more than competitive in the mid lane as KaKAO made a bit of a misfire.
Yep, donated the blue over to himself. Not particularly charitable there, so Rookie will miss out on that one as BAKA returns to his lane, working on his Athenes once again here. Charles plus Amptome already done to the Ruby Crystal plus that early blast.
Honestly, if I was Rookie, I'd say, all right, you've got the blue buff. Go get me the enemy blue buff, because he was actually winning in CS values against BAKA. BAKA having to respect the fact that KaKAO had been seen so present. When you see the enemy jungler affecting other lanes, you know that he's got that aggressive mindset. You have to play more defensively. But no blue buff in mid means he's going to get poked out, means that the wave clear is going to be registered here for BAKA, and it keeps Rookie down.
Yep, BAKA going to go ahead and take that blue buff actually as Kitties hits level 6, and now Crystal has to respect some of the damage. Depth charge already used. Crystal's forced to flush away. KaKAO even riding in. Dredgeline just short there, but very close. And KaKAO even ulted in to force another kill in bottom.
And the defensive flash there, I thought it was premature, but you could see they were going all in on the hook, or maybe even a turret dive coming through. They are ganking Crystal at every opportunity, and now that he doesn't have flash, once again, pressure relieved from Kid. They are not repeating the mistakes of games 1 and 2 between these two teams way ago in the split.
No, I mean, Crystal's Draven, once it gets going, is a sight to behold, but the key phrase there, get going. Crystal being held on quite well so far, despite keeping competitive in CS, but Jinx is no slouch of a late game carry either, and while Crystal might have the aggressive advantage now, do not discount Kids. mid to late game power once he gets going.
And it's worth noting, it's an emergency item build that doesn't necessarily fit into any obvious Draven items. Blade of the Ruined King Draven doesn't necessarily strike me as a particularly scary build. He's never built attack speed, so the attack speed is going to be, I mean, obviously valuable to an extent, but it's not going to be multiplied by any crit or anything like that. And the AD scale on his Q is high. KaKAO visits mid, but BAKA, as has been the case this whole laning phase, is on the defensive.
Yeah, good dash away there. Actually, a bit behind in CS, but only 10 downs. Not too shabby there as Beast. Throw a snowball at KaKAO. Going to clear out some vision because Dragon is back up in 15 seconds.
That's the only thing that Beast has really been able to get going is the top lane gank and this Dragon. Beast's individual performance has been just fine, but KaKAO has been all over bottom lane, and the snowball and the ganks have been working effectively. So that's the reason why we see actually a Jinx winning in CS against a Draven.
Zzitai forced out by Flandre, interestingly enough, so has to go back. Might even get dove here by the Mega Gnar, but not quite yet as KaKAO still down the bottom side trying to get it done. But Beast in here for the counter gank, but unfortunately for him, sitting straight on top of a board.
Seeing on what, you're right. Zzitai's really struggling in this matchup. Wasn't expecting that, but there was always going to be a tipping item point. And it seems like Hexdrink is just enough to really disregard the magic damage and stand up to trades from the Lulu.
I mean, he wants to keep him there if he can, because Dragon, I think, is what Snake's looking for next year. It's a little bit tenuous to try and take it now, given how much strength KaKAO has shown in the bottom side of the map. And as a result, they'll give it up. But Crystal going to get hooked up. He has to stand and fight now, going in onto Kid, but can't find enough. Janna will just peel away on Crystal. Safe for now, going to lifesteal up very healthily.
Honestly, Kid's mechanics let him down that situation in the mid.
KaKAO in trouble. BAKA launches him back into the turret, but an attempted gank goes a little awry, but BAKA, no hope of a kill there.
Yeah, just returning to Kid, actually stayed in rocket form too long, would have got 3-4 more autos, then cancelled his first machine gun auto. Just wasn't able to do realistic trade damage in that situation. Although they didn't use the depth charge, it was a trade that should have opened up a effective health advantage between the carries.
Yeah, Beast on top of a ward now as well. Once again, tries to come to the bottom lane, sneak his way in, and is getting spotted here. So Kid and Kitties will play nice and defensively. KaKAO in the area as well. If they want to opt in for a counter gank. And Kitties with the shield on there, pretty tanky here. Crystal trying to poke in, bait them into a fight, but they already know Beast is waiting down there.
Rek'Sai can just go back. Already had the Cinderhulk complete, so it's definitely going to be the health stacking coming through from the Rek'Sai. Not necessarily going to go for the warrior enchant. Probably scales into late game better when you're going to be more of a utility tank, even if you do have the extra AD and armor pen from the warrior. So fits the build, and of course you still have excellent clear thanks to the Cinderhulk.
Yeah, that ward's dropped now as well on the bottom side, so might be a bit more on the defensive now while IG's duo, given that they don't know that that's going on. But Crystal will get depth charge up. Ella will also get hooked away. Crystal has to dodge this hook, but the Riptide's going to come in. Ella doesn't quite body block, but a great ulti away, but the flash hook will come in. Crystal going to get snared up again. KaKAO's joining in. Ulti just wide. Rookie's here as well. Crystal goes down to KaKAO, but Flandre might be able to make the difference. Goes in. Almost Mega Gnar going in. Massive 4-man ulti. Walloped him in under the turret as well. The Hexdrinker procs. The wild grows down, and it's not quite enough for Snake as Rookie going to look to dive in again, but 2-0 IG.
With the teleport flank coming through, I thought it would go bad, but BAKA did not rotate. Of course, hard to match a Kassadin when it comes to rotating, but the result was 2 free kills coming through from IG, and this should be the answering Dragon.
Yep, that Dragon is warded there by Snake, so they'll have a timer, but no hope of Beast getting in range to steal it. Draven ulti is coming down. They're going to try and take it, but a little too optimistic on that one. IG will back off it, and KaKAO makes sure he gets away and smites it.
Honestly, the communication has to be another question mark for Snake. You saw the teleport being channeled by Flandre. Needed to communicate with BAKA and understand that there was no point contesting, was only ever going to give an extra kill because Azir just wasn't in the area.
Beast there going to get spotted out by a Prey Seeker, but just walking into the jungle, trying to get some wards down. No Sightstone, interestingly, yet for Beast. Actually just has some consumable standard wards being picked up here, but trying to get some vision. Now we'll collapse the tunnel and take away the Raptor, but blue buff should go over to Rookie this time around, unless KaKAO fancies himself another one.
I really like the build coming through. I mentioned the boots too coming through from Jinx. Kid has finished the Berserker Greaves. It's always been a pretty standard thing on Jinx because movement speed and attack speed interacts really well with orb walking around your rocket form. But in this situation, it just means that even if he takes a couple of axes from Crystal, you do get a bit of trade damage with your effective range advantage with the Draven, just to ensure that trades aren't landslide at the advantage of the all-in trade specialist Draven.
And you can see Kid and Kitties doing just fine here, up slightly in CS after taking away the Krugs, but keeping up very nicely as Draven has actually completed a Blade of the Ruined King. So I have to assume pretty scared of KaKAO and Rookie diving in. We talked about him needing some self-peel here against the big divers from IG, and that's at least what this build gives him.
It's just such an emergency build. It doesn't really interact with any of his spells. He already has a Janna and a Nunu for team fights. it feels like, honestly, he was forced into the build wall and just had nowhere to go to have any effective items early.
Well, going to be okay right now. It's KaKAO and BAKA will have a duel in the mid lane. 2-level advantage here for BAKA, but KaKAO just running into him. That might force the ulti out. Heal is back as well. BAKA trying the 1v1. B's going to come in as well. Empress of Eye will push KaKAO away, but now it's a little too hard for them to go back in. A soldier will come down. KaKAO, no flash, actually might be a little too far forward, and BAKA pokes one over the wall and takes him out.
It felt like KaKAO was just too greedy to try to draw out the Emperor's Divide. Kept following and following, and multiple members rotated, so punished for his over-aggression there was KaKAO. Honestly, his first poor rotation probably in the first 2 games.
He gets himself killed as a result as Flandre starting to bully Zzitai quite a bit now in mini-Gnar form in particular. And see KaKAO there, pretty steely faced after that mistake. He probably knows it was a bridge too far.
It'd be interesting to see how IG are going to play around this Lulu versus Gnar matchup, because it was always going to get better and better for Gnar, and Lulu was just going to have to build for team fights, build up that early 40% CDR, build up a bit of AP, and then start rotating. Of course, Lulu's going to be so much more effective in team fight situations than she is in terms of a tank fight with Gnar in the top lane. So I feel like we're just waiting for that teleport to come out, but they got an unanswered dragon, so unfortunately for Zzitai's perspective, just has to sit in lane and keep clearing waves.
Yeah, has his CDR now though, with the boots and the Morellonomicon completed. Probably move into a death cap as his second item. Rookie Rod of Vader's done plus a Phoenix Codex, and you can tell 10 CS ahead already, starting to keep BAKA back deep towards his turret. Very safe there, very passive in the lane.
It'd be interesting to see if the Blade active, just the lifesteal coming through from that component, is enough to keep Crystal from what is going to be, at some point, a Rod of Ages, Athene's Unholy Grail, Zhonya's Kassadin. That's just what we expect coming through from that champion. It's a smart rotation. Rookie, though, goes super aggressive.
Great rotation. Rookie, yeah, far too deep. Hashtag has to back away there. Beast will flash in after him. Now KaKAO, maybe the next target is Kitties. Will maybe have caught out Beast here. No flash for Nunu means he has to run away, but there's a Sun Turret protecting them as well, and Beast will just walk casually out.
It's the happiest trade of your life, trading a jungler's flash for the Kassadins of all things. Suddenly, Crystal's life is that much safer. He had to deal with KaKAO opening up pressure on bottom, forcing his summoners, killing him multiple times. Finally gets an assist from his own jungler, as no flash on Kassadin will be relevant in the next fight.
You can look at the gold lead now, actually, with a tower taken out. That tower, sorry, taken out in the mid lane. Only 1,000 up here for IG. Will make it about 2,000 up now, as they do take the bottom turret away from themselves for their first. But pretty even here in kills, very even in dragons, and the towers bit equalized as well. Means for all the advantage that IG have started to build up, it's actually not that big of a lead so far.
It is really difficult to kind of put a value on how important it is that Jinx is 1,000 gold ahead of Draven. You might think, okay, he's 1,000 gold ahead, that's the value. But the big consideration here is that Draven should win this lane in a landslide fashion. He should be dominating. He should be items ahead. He should be cashing in his stacks and picking up more and more gold. Being behind or worse for Draven is a big situation here. He's not building up the items to deal. He's been forced into an emergency build as well. This Draven is going to take a lot longer into the game to be the Draven we expected in previous series, and he's against the likes of Kassadin, who can really dive this backline.
Yeah, you can see Rookie starting to split push now on the Kassadin. Smart stuff here is Crystal picking up stack after stack there, but Jinx, Infinity Edge done now as well for Zzitai. We've got a blasting one now in Zzetai's inventory as well. Things certainly stacking up here for the members of IG, and with Dragon back up in a minute 10, we're going to try and break that even 1-1 then, so you can get their second Dragon moving into the very important third.
Yeah, you mentioned the Rod of Ages. That's a stacking item. That's more power a bit later. The fact that Jinx could go a snowball Avarice Blade, not an emergency Avarice Blade in a Draven lane, this lets you know that this game, they're happy for this game to go on. They're happy for things to scale up, because Jinx will always have a natural advantage in team fights. She's so much more maneuverable, assuming that first kill comes through and she gets excited, than the Draven, who has the much more linear playstyle. BF Sword now completed. Still not getting towards the Trinity Force, the Bloodthirster, the Last Whisper, though. That really is demanded for Crystal to start getting on full carry pants.
Yeah, BF Sword's nice here. Will certainly help in the next big fight coming through here in about 30 seconds' time. Flandre with Oranduins actually means he's quite tanky and will be very influential in that next fight as well. Even a need to see large rod done for BAKA means he wants power right now, and I think Snake realized the pressure that they're putting on themselves trying to contest for this next Dragon.
Stacking's already well underway. I believe 6 stacks on the Rod of Ages, maybe 7 just pinged over now, so 3 minutes away. 22 minutes when we're expecting to see the 10-stack Rod of Ages. Working towards the Athenes, as you can tell. 40% CDR will be completed between that and the CDR boots. Snake are just waiting and looking to opt into this next Dragon fight. We look at the vision, honestly, it's pretty neutral.
And to give you an idea of how important this fight is to Snake, Flandre, who's now teleporting, didn't last hit minions because he didn't want to go into Mega Gnar form, but he's coming in now. He's going to try and zone them away, and Snake, they're on top of the Dragon here. Where's Flandre? There he is, Mini Gnar form, almost ready for the transform. Dragon goes away, and Flandre still threatening with the ulti.
With no vision in the area, they did not look to commit. Kitties might be caught.
Dredge lands to a bit terrain. Oh, Flandre tries to flash him in, gets a slow though with the boulder toss, but Rookie coming around as well. The standard side moves in. Tornado on to Kitties. They might be able to kill him. Beast channels the ultimate, but Rookie looking for the flank. Goes in, but the Monsoon will disengage, and BAKA keeping them all out there 1v4, but Ella now getting chased down. BAKA gets the first kill. Crystal still alive. His Kid's now completely out of position. KaKAO gets flashed on and dies. Kid eats a snowball to the face and gets knocked up by a Nado. That will go over to Gnar actually, and Snake, they get the Dragon and 3 kills for it.
The Kid made a huge mistake in that situation. Flashed aggressively after Ella to get the first kill, get excited. Didn't get it. The shield was off cooldown and just was caught with her pants down in the front of the fight, just killed by Nunu. Once she falls down, only so much Rookie can do before those big items are completed. IG did not need to fight in that situation. Their item builds didn't dictate a fight. They're scaling up. Wait for that scaling, then commit to a fight. And now suddenly, Crystal cashes in, Crystal gets a kill credit, and he's just going to get stronger as this game goes on.
Yeah, right back to where he wants to be here. Or maybe not quite as far as we can see. That gold lead pretty much equalized now between the two AD carries. So impressive stuff there as Flandre going to go back, and certainly a slip there for IG to not have vision around the area of the Dragon, but they showed so much respect to Flandre's Mega Gnar there.
It's just a really big cash in to equalize that goal. Remember, 1,000 gold behind just a moment ago, completely equalized just from cashing. Now has a Bloodthirster. One thing you can say about these two items, there is certain synergy when it comes to lifesteal. We're talking 35% lifesteal. Got to kill that guy fast or he'll lifesteal right back up.
Yeah, Flandre running in, but Zzitai whimsies himself to safety, so we'll be okay there now. And thinking about Draven's build a bit, certainly understand that Bilgewater definitely felt like an emergency purchase, but this build feels very intentional for Crystal, and I think with all the divers, Rek'Sai Kassadin in particular, I can understand why he's going for such heavy lifesteal in this build.
That's what I was mentioning. With 35% lifesteal, you don't kill him instantly. He gets a second wind. You know, he gets the Janna shield, and he's effectively healing huge amounts. Of course, the Welding Axis procs lifesteal, so you're already doing such an amount of AD that you will be able to lifesteal up. You definitely need to go for the burst trades, which Kassadin does specialize in, but we're talking about 6-item level 16 Kassadin, more than the Kassadin now that'll maybe chunk out 40% of his health on a fairly short cooldown. But that's time between spell rotations for Draven to heal up.
And you can see Ella prioritizing the Mikhails there as well, so clearly knows who he needs to protect. As almost always, it is Crystal once again, but good rotation here for IG. Going to get the hook on a BAKA. Rookie diving in, but goes way too far. But Kid will still get the kill, and a very creative ultimate by Azir, but not enough to keep him alive.
So we're waiting for Surfing Kassadin, apparently. He found a big wave coming through from the Emperor's Divide Road to the back, but thankfully, from a Rookie perspective, wasn't punished.
Flandre trying to come down, and Snake are doing everything they can to wave clear away, but without Nazir, especially one that can set up here, it's just some Janna tornadoes and a couple of auto attacks from Draven to keep them away. And you can see Ella getting chunked up by Rookie as Crystal eats a hook there. Rookie dives in, but Beast channels the ulti. Crystal life stealing, but it's not enough, and Ella going to get knocked up there as well as KaKAO comes in. Rookie finds himself the doubles. The tie pops a wild growth as KaKAO will dive in. Flandre, he's here as Mega Gnar, but it's not going to last too much longer. Tower will go down. Rookie going to dive in once again. Flandre going to eat some rockets here and look to go down as the hook lands in. Kid with that next kill, and it's 3-0 this time to IG.
Honestly, it's really poor positioning from Crystal. A second game in a row getting caught out by the Nautilus hook. Had to respect that CC. You saw, even with all the lifesteal in the world, Kids free hitting the Draven of all people in the front line. Okay, was in rocket form, wasn't quite minigun, but was doing massive amounts of damage. And you can have as much lifesteal as you want when you're taking 3-4 members aggro.
Yeah, no Mikhails there for Ella, so maybe not communicated there, but a bad situation for the Draven, and a fourth turret now being completed for IG. So 3 Addles down, plus the tier 2 in the mid lane, and 2 on down in Dragons, but we do have one coming back in a minute 55. A Snake trying to answer back onto Rookie, but Kassadin fairly tricky to pin down.
So we saw that previous fight that Jinx was involved in where she died early, she couldn't get the reset. Honestly, Pace Time, that's not really a concern now when you have Infinity Edge, Static Ship, and a Snowball Last Whisper. Suddenly Jinx is super, super strong. And look, Beast is pretty tanky but has no armor. Okay, Gnar, still relatively tanky, but the first kill getting excited is the core tenet to IG winning a fight, because suddenly then the AD carry has huge mobility with Get Excited. Kassadin already has crazy mobility, and they have the utility coming through from the likes of Whimsy. The first kill so much easier when the holy triumvirate of AD carry items is already complete at 24 minutes.
Yeah, and maybe to add insult to injury there, Zzitai has completed his rabbit on Zera as well, so good to go as far as mid-game Lulu items go, and IG are going to posture quite aggressively around that Baron. We'll just clear out some wards, but now Snake with that third dragon, fourth overall looming as well. They have an extra objective to worry about as well.
Exactly, but not the dragons, of course. Only 1 to 2 in terms of dragons at this point. So the dragon pressure's not on them like it was in the previous series. Split pushes between the top laners, both of them having teleport in a second or so as Zzitai will get his through. IG still can't be too confident. There's still the theoretical massive Emperor's Divide, and Draven has enough lifesteal to shrug off a single diver's damage. He just can't afford to be hooked in. That's the big thing here. Keep the positioning in the backline, please, Crystal.
Yeah, I mean, Draven, it feels like oddly short range for a 550 range AD carry just because of how aggressively you want to be moving and catching your axes. I think, as Crystal's demonstrated, you often want to be moving forward, but we can see Zzitai pushing in. BAKA will clear him out, actually puts him straight back into the turret, and Zzitai with his ult, he might have to use it. BAKA's doing good damage now with that stinger, and he'll keep chasing through, but Dragon looking to go over to IG as BAKA's still chasing in, and Zzitai gets himself away, but crucially IG are going to equalize the Dragons as well.
Yeah, the soldiers are just too far behind. Felt like when you have the ball behind you as Orianna and watch them slowly move forward. So no kill pressure, does get the ultimate out, but doesn't actually even get the flash from Zzitai in this situation. That ult, 40% CDR, is on a super short cooldown.
He's going to have to walk his way back down, and no dragon picked up. My mistake was actually spawning there as IG at least got to clear out vision in the area, but we'll have a full-on 5v5 for this, you have to think. Rookie pushing down the bottom. That's going to leave Flandre there to try and push it out, and he'll build up a bit more rage. He's ready now, actually, to transform into Mega Gnar. Has good rage management there, and Snake, they're going to get on top of the dragon.
First poke did half of Ella's health just coming through from the zap. Snake have to fight this smart. There is a team fight in this situation, they win, but it's so hard to execute.
Rookie does get poked away, but it's a good pincer here from IG. You have to think as Flandre going to go into the Mega Gnar form now, looking to zone them out. Snake on top of the dragon. They'll try and take it away. Beast is on Nunu. They're going to be too bad. Flandre, big ulti there onto 3 people, but Rek'Sai takes away the dragon. Flandre going to get too low, but Beast going to turn to the ulti. Rookie gets kicked out there by the Monsoon, but the damage is too high right now. And Crystal chasing away the Kassadin. Can't keep going in. Kid going nuts. They gets a double, maybe make it a triple. I think that's a quadra. Can he get the pentakill? We'll have to wait to see if it registered. There's 4. Kid get it going. Make it 5. Kid gets a pentakill.
Pentakill for Kid. He just got able to go through. Of course, the first kill took so long because the flank was coming through from Rookie. But once that came through, he started licking his lips. Pentakill to put the axe on what is looking like a second victory for IG.
Looking very good there. Even equalized the Dragons again as Snake just can't find a foothold in this game. Straight to the Baron for Invictus Gaming as well. And again, what was it? Kind of a back and forth game with IG getting small leads here, and they're building up the gold about 3,000-4,000 gold ahead. All of a sudden, catapulted up to about 7k ahead. Gonna be more when the Baron goes down as well. And one last shot might be coming through for IG as Snake have to defend so hard.
And after a pentakill, you might be forgiven thinking, okay, this is the Kid hard carry, but it's all about KaKAO equalizing what is super tough bottom lane matchup against the Draven Janna. So many visits to bot. Every time Crystal thought, okay, he was just here. I can overextend for damage finally, get that lane control I need. He was punished multiple times, although we're going to see the replay of the pentakill coming through. Kid's actually womboed, but there's just not any other dive damage to come through. At this point, the fight's looking okay, but the burst comes through. Flandre takes so much damage with the last whisper completed, and as the fight continues into minigun form, so much better switching between the rocket launcher and minigun. BAKA gets taken down. We're wondering, where is that 5th member? Nunu trying to sneakily recall. Zaps enough, and that's pentakill for Kid.
I have to say, big credit to Kid there for using his ultimate very intelligently. Basically assassinated Flandre with it after he dove in, and that was the reset he needed to just take the rest of the fight.
It's one of the few times I wish we could see the kill credit score just to see how much damage that super mega death rocket did, because Flandre had a lot of health. But with the missing health damage coming through from that item, with the 4 items coming through now, of course, with the extra BS sword working towards, you can only assume is the QSS item coming through here. you just have to feel like Jinx at this point is just God mode when it comes to damage.
There's a Zzitai even pressuring as well. The Baron Cannon helping him out quite a bit here as he just pokes him with a Sheen now, going for the aggressive Lulu option of a Lich Bane third. Given the pace of the game, can't really blame him. Looking down as well, Rookie's now building up towards the Zhonya's, but does have his Rod of Ages fully stacked and an Athene's. Flandre will try and zone Zzitai out, but 2 levels down still actually, and Zzitai fancies himself a fight, although Flandre does want to make it a 1v1. Looked for the wall up and misses, and Zzitai too sneaky there with 40% CDR.
And there's nothing 1v1 about a Baron buff minion wave coming to your aid. The trade damage already going to be decent from Lulu. Can open up a gap when he's in Mega Gnar form and just poke, as we're waiting to see if they can actually break the base. Because although they've piled on advantages, breaking the base against all the wave clear from the likes of BAKA is difficult.
Yeah, you can see BAKA clearing out waves en masse there with Crystal, poking in axes where he can. Tier 2 in the bottom side will go down here to Rookie. It's quite tricky for Snake to rotate down. In fact, IG are already here. Make sure the turret goes down, and a 1-3-1 actually is the pressure option here for Invictus Gaming. Going to see which turret they can break first.
It's actually a smart move from IG because, of course, with the Sand Soldiers, you can open up 3 Sand Soldiers in the area under a turret, and it's just impossible to push through them. That's the team fight the Snake are looking for, even with the 12k disadvantage. Flandre doing good work up top, pushes out the Lulu, but you have to think the teleport will come in soon. It doesn't have it up, but the rotation top, very quick as Lulu.
Yeah, actually going on to Flandre here. Kitties going to find the grab. Zap will go short as a result here. They can't quite get in. Pretty tanky still, even in mini Gnar form. Building in towards a Warmong's. Zzitai, though, will go back. They actually traded ultimates in the top, but Zzitai with his CDR will beat him to the punch as far as cooldowns going. Again, IG playing patiently, but at this point, that's all they're required to do.
The Lich Bane completed from Lulu, you might think is just for the single target damage onto the likes of Crystal, but honestly, with the 1-3-1 we're talking about, excellent turret pressure now coming through from the Lulu with the AP stacking, and now the Lich Bane expecting her to be chunking out the turret when she finally manages to push it against Flandre. But we have to remember, only has ranged wave clear in Mega Gnar form.
10,000 gold down now our Snake, and Baron buff has dropped, I believe, so no advantage there for IG, but Dragon coming back, that'll be a third for either team if they can pick it up, and Snake pretty anchored to their base at this point, although a Sun Turret does come down to give them a bit more wiggle room in the mid lane. Going to be tricky here for Snake to get out of their base, and IG can just slowly play around objectives. Although Crystal has found Rookie, or maybe Rookie's found him. Zhonya's out there as well. Nautilus coming through, and Draven, nowhere good to go, gives Rookie a kill.
And the big issue with this build is, although the double lifesteal was looking apt given how much diving was happening, suddenly you have no steroids whatsoever, not even a Trinity Force at this point to justify the juggling of axes. Decent AD scaling coming through from the Bloodthirster, but this is a super low damage, non-snowball Draven build coming through, which is usually an indicator that the Draven's going to be relatively useless in a fight.
I mean, it's another late game build for Crystal, you have to think. Much more focused on getting through the early mid game, which is tough with all the divers, and just getting to the late game stage where he's always shown he can be strong.
The only way I can justify it is that he had the longsword, of course, purchased before his first death, had a second death, realized the only way he could get any sort of effective item lead was with the Bilgewater, was priced into that build just with the item purchase he had. But honestly, it's thrown his build off so far that maybe just getting that Vamp Scepter and sitting on, just getting an extra longsword and not finishing the Bilgewater would have just had the psychological effect of opening up other build paths. Because all he's managed to do this game is put himself in a situation where he's not even the late game Draven his team needs. Unless he gets, what, 2 more? It feels like he needs 2 more items to really justify this build path.
Yeah, same situation as last game. Snake trying to hold on and defend with the late game team fights. Although Flandre doing a good job getting Zzitai out. Kid and Kitties finally find some free time in the bottom side of the map, and that's a dead inhibitor turret.
Absolutely, there was no wave clear there. Azir was at the top side of the map. He's the only one with AoE wave clear coming through from IG, apart from Mega Gnar in Mega Gnar form coming through for Flandre. So just able to push down the turret, get Azir top, push down bottom. Very simple strategy, but well executed by IG.
Good stuff here as the Dragon is available, but IG not particularly interested right now. Want to actually take some fights instead. Ella going to get hooked up. That rocket just gets the kill for Kid. Beast going to look to go down here as well. So Zap doesn't snipe him because Rookie is taking it instead. And IG, 2 free kills, going to take the bottom inhibitor.
That super mega death rocket did over half the health of Janna. Okay, Janna not the tankiest of champions, but that's just a deceptive amount of damage. Shows how far snowballed Kid is. This mid turret's going to come down soon, and you have to think shortly the game for Snake.
Yeah, 4 damage items done for Snake. Second inhib's going to fall as well. Rookie going in deep there onto BAKA. Wild growth there from Zzitai, and Snake already tapped the mat. Another surrender as IG were all but winning there in the inevitable last push, and Crystal takes a big, deep breath there. That's 2 games in a row. He's not been able to find a foothold, and Snake now find themselves down 0-2 in the best of 5.
And Crystal, the equal MVP leader, up there with Def, only a couple points behind, looked for a big performance in his last best of 5 of the season, and honestly has been punished 2 games in a row. Lots of credit early game to KaKAO for such smart jungle pathing, playing Rek'Sai like you can play, so aggressive, just using that tunnel behind the turret, getting the picks onto Draven when he was overextending for damage, being there multiple times, setting up Kid to have a majestic performance, pentakill coming through on the Jinx, and between Jinx getting that first kill, which was so easy when she had 3-4 AD items, and Kassadin hitting level 16, nothing you can do with Snake.
And credit to the IG carries, both Kassadin and the Jinx there for Rookie and Kid look great, but I agree with you, credit to KaKAO, who once again held Beast on his Nunu for a second time, just completely down in the jungle.
I think we actually have a replay. There's going to be plenty of them coming through this game. There's lots of highlights coming through, but it must be pentakill coming
It
time,
is.
I think, pastry time. So Snake, they started onto this dragon. Crucially, look down the cooldowns. Emperor's Divide is not available, and you have to remember that Crystal at this point was a stacking lifesteal. He's not going to have a lot of consistent damage. So we'll roll the tape here. And we're waiting for... And the first kill takes a exceptionally long time to come. It's an excellent engage from Flandre with the flash Gnar against the wall, but no other follow-up damage. Flandre's falling low. The slow comes through, but that damage was crazy to the Gnar. Already had 3 items, and then from this fight could get into minigun form. Crystal for a bit there was standing toe-to-toe. He was doing a lot of... getting a lot of lifesteal, but of course multiple members were able to turn. Kid, he found Nunu trying to be very sneaky, to backing in the turret, backing in the grass, and that was the pentakill coming through for Jinx.
Yeah, Beast tried to deny the penta, but unsuccessful there in that adventure.
Unsuccessful in that adventure, and that's a nice exclamation point as what is looking like a comfortable series for IG. But if we learned anything from LCK action yesterday, pastry time, this series isn't over until it's over.
Yeah, it isn't indeed, and we are going to go into a quick break, but when we return for Game 3, can Snake keep their dreams alive with a 3rd place match, or are IG going to get the sweep? We'll find out soon as Game 3 between Snake and IG